Welcome back, America. President Joe Biden's campaign, along with his administration, have long relied on Hollywood celebrities and social media influencers to deliver important messages to young voters between the ages of 18 and 29 years old. But if you've noticed, the White House nor the Department of Homeland Security has not utilized any of those social influencers to create videos about the state of our southern border or how fentanyl is transversing over the border and creating havoc with American lives. Our next guest used to be the director of the Drug Enforcement Agency's Special Operations Division. He wants to know why the Biden administration isn't calling on their influencers to help educate the public on this very important issue. Joining us right now, Derek Maltz. Derek, great to have you back on the show, my friend.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
We rave over the fact that, well, Taylor Swift's at the NFL and now everybody's watching the NFL games. We see what TikTok has done to create narratives and movements in our country. This is a movement, the fentanyl movement, and the families and victims of fentanyl. They've been without many influencers. Why is that? Why aren't more people in the influence business able to engage on this?
Well, number one, they don't really pay attention to the details. This isn't your normal drug crisis. It's the worst in the history of the country, and it's killing at record levels. And it's a poisoning of our future generation. But what bothers me, John, and you kind of alluded to it, is that the Biden administration, very smartly, they will actually use social media influencers to push out campaign messages, which I applaud them for that. It's very smart, hitting the 18 to 26-year-olds, right, that are on Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok all day long. The problem is the kids of America are on those same platforms. So it'd be nice if the White House would use those influencers to go after that audience. Now, Joe Biden just blew another opportunity. He was asked to do a, interview for the Super Bowl, right? How many millions are watching the Super Bowl? He could have talked about the Kansas City Chiefs fans that died from fentanyl poisoning. They were deceived to death. He could have sent a powerful message to the world on how dangerous this is. But he opted out because he's being hidden again. They don't want him in the public because he can't really communicate properly. But it's very frustrating for me because I believe these superstar players, the celebrities out there, especially the younger ones, actually all of them, would want to save these kids if they understood the issue.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, and they may not care about the details, but we care about the details, which are that in 2023, there were 27,000 pounds of fentanyl across our southern border. That was an 800% increase since 2019. And in 2021, 90% of some 80,000 opioid-related deaths involved fentanyl. Derek, when you look at this bill, this bipartisan border deal out of the U.S. Senate, and you see 3 times the amount going to Ukraine as opposed to 20 million going to our southern border. I know you have a lot of relationships with family members who have lost loved ones to fentanyl. Does it feel like a slap in the face to those people?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, their biggest complaint is that no one's really paying attention to this. They're now trying to save other kids. They're trying to help other families, and they don't understand why the government is disengaging on this issue. And by the way, since you mentioned the stats, the DEA has very, very good statistics now. They pushed out the latest numbers. Over 78 million fake pills were seized last year and 12,000 pounds of powder. And remember, let's not forget, the DEA administrator said that 7 out of 10 pills contain a potentially lethal dose of fentanyl. So, yeah, it's kind of disgusting that we are not putting Americans first. We are putting all these other countries first. And by the way, there's another thing, Amanda, which gets me really cranked up, is that even the FBI director talks so much about the threats that China poses against this country, but yet we are letting Chinese nationals come in at record levels, over 24,000 last year. We already have an average of 5,000 a month in the first 3 months coming in the southern border. But what are they doing? Setting up marijuana grow operations, counterintelligence operations, and God knows what else. And how many Chinese nationals that are military-age men are coming in with the gotaways? This is the question that nobody really seems to want to talk about. But that's our national security as they're going into our infrastructure, our financial products, our electricity. All our different infrastructures relying on technology, and they have hacking in all these different systems. So how can this be acceptable to anybody that is from America? Like, I don't understand it.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating.
Derek, you helped us a few months ago on what I think is a very important story about all of these Chinese pot farms up in Maine, which, by the way, are all over the country, but Maine was so shocking. Do you have any doubt from the work you've done, the years that you had access to intelligence and chief of operations, that China has, as part of its American agenda, an effort to make as many Americans addicted as possible?
Well, I would say they are trying to use different substances to destabilize and destroy America. It's a different type of warfare. We're not used to it. People are not comfortable with talking about this chemical attack. But John, let's talk about the current chemicals that they're sending. It's not just the precursors to make fentanyl. It's not just the fentanyl they're still sending on websites. What about the nitazene, isonitazene, edonitazene, protonitazene, metanitazene, xylazine, and carfentanil? All of these bath salts now, like Florida's got an epidemic on Utilone coming out of China. There's undercover operations around the country where they order this stuff up on the websites and they deliver it right to America. Those are substances that are very dangerous and lethal, more powerful than fentanyl. And the American public is not connecting the dots that China's also providing the money laundering services for the cartels.
Yep.
So they can now buy, the Chinese businessmen can now take the cash in America, buy property, buy land, set up their own intelligence operations. It's a joke. How many Americans are buying property all over the Communist Party of China? But yet the Chinese are here eating our lunch, right? And we're sitting here and we're allowing this. It's absolutely so sickening. And I can't really explain it any other way. I don't understand the average person that we all are friendly with. We don't care if you're Democrats or Republicans, but do you want to see the destruction of America?
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Derek, there is an interesting indicator of how bad it seems things have gotten at the border. When you hear about historic drug operations, sting operations, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, even historic operations in the mid-90s, it always involves the DEA, because the DEA, your former organization, is who concentrates on that type of thing. It's your specialty. What does it say about the border crisis that now CBP is seizing more illicit drugs than the DEA?
It's real simple. It shows that the level of production in Mexico is so far off the charts. And CBP is very talented. They have some good technology. They have some diehard, dedicated American patriots. And they're working with their dogs and they're working with all the screening equipment. And I applaud them. They're saving lives every day. Just like law enforcement, you seize 1,000 pills that could potentially kill 700 people, according to the DEA administrator. So I am very excited about the work law enforcement's doing, but it's a shame how they don't get supported. We still have this defund the police movement, but it's kind of interesting now. In the state of Oregon, they wanted the decriminalization of drugs, but now they're declaring this public health and public safety crisis driven by fentanyl this week. It's a major announcement. Governor, mayor, they're all out there. It's disgusting that they started this, and now all these sanctuary cities, same thing.
They're literally attacking the very crisis that they created themselves. It's just like the border.
Yes.
It's just incredible. Derek, you do such great work, not only for the families of fentanyl, but just for the common sense intelligence that our country needs on China and so many things. What a great honor to have you on. We'll be looking to see if some of those influencers jump into the void.